Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I have you now.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Hello!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making.
We are the 30-something movie podcast, and this time around we are jumping forward in time from our usual 1987 movies to a 2017 movie. This time we're going to be talking Justice League. So very, very quickly, we do spoil the movies we talk about. So if you have not seen Justice League yet, it being a newer movie, you may want to wait a little bit and then come back and listen once you've had a chance to watch it. So that being said, there's your warning, and we're moving forward. Okay, so this time around, we're going to skip all the new movie news stuff because this is basically a new movie. In case you guys have anything else pressing that you've heard about.
Star Wars comes out in
what are we, 3 weeks? 16,
Star Wars movie coming?
16
There
days.
is.
It's called
Under the radar.
It's called The Phantom Menace. It sounds fantastic.
Uh-huh.
I've heard about that.
I'm excited
the pod
for
races
it.
look cool.
Yeah,
They do.
It's called Jar Jar 2 Electric Boogaloo.
I can only hope the pod races take up 25 minutes of the movie.
Sure, why not?
I can only hope.
It's my understanding is it's going to be a cross between The Fast and the Furious in Episode 1.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, all very dangerous pod racing and The Rock.
And don't forget, can't go wrong with The Rock.
No, they're replacing Jake Lloyd with The Rock. They're basically remaking the whole thing shot for shot with all the same actors, but Jake Lloyd is now The Rock.
Yes, but who's Vin Diesel?
Darth Maul's bottom half.
All right. I like that.
I don't know where this is going, but I feel like I need to.
Did they human centipede him?
Then he comes, whoa!
Then he comes back as the weird spider thing in
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Nobody look up what I just said.
I wasn't taking this to the human centipede level. I don't know where.
I feel the need to go find a safe adult to monitor this room.
No. You're not going to find one.
Yeah, not here.
Son of a gun.
Yeah, so what are we, 16? I think we're like 16 days from
I have a countdown
recording.
on my board.
Do you? Okay.
Nice.
All right.
It's the important things. You know?
It is. Saturday morning, right?
Little because when's Jumanji 2 coming out? Because
that looks
Is that
good.
like right? Is that like the same
before,
time?
It's probably the weekend before because they wouldn't put it up against Star Wars.
No.
Would they?
That would be dumb. That's good. That looks good.
It actually does.
I am disturbed at how good it looks.
They were moving around some of the release dates. Disney was moving around some of the release dates, like for Episode 9. Apparently, Episode 9 is now going to be in the summertime.
Yeah, they're going to do May again, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to go back to May, May 29th or something like that. Because I guess...
Personally, I like that better.
I guess they've got Frozen 2
Aha!
is coming out maybe at Thanksgiving, and I think Toy Story 4 is coming out sometime around then, so they kind of decided they didn't want to compete against
and they'd
themselves.
want Frozen out at Thanksgiving so you can buy all the crap for Christmas.
Right, right.
Let's be honest.
And then apparently they're pushing back Indiana Jones 5. And as I was reading that,
let's just maybe not really happening.
Let's keep if we all combine our weights together and push it back.
Yeah.
Just keep
hopefully that'll just shove it off
it.
into eternity.
Because then the thing I was reading was by the time they've pushed it back that far, it's going to come out in 2020, and Harrison Ford will be 80.
Okay, so now he needs to have a love child, and they remake The Last Crusade with him playing the Sean Connery part.
And Shiloh playing.
And Indy played...
There it is.
No, Indy is The Rock.
Yeah, yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
And Salah's camels are played by Vin Diesel.
I'm in.
Okay.
That was easy. No. Vin Diesel... If we're remaking The Last
Marianne's
Crusade...
bottom half is
No. If we're remaking The Last Crusade, Vin Diesel is the knight.
Okay.
You chose.
There it is.
Okay. All right.
So Pat's not
I
here,
get that one. Yeah.
but I would like to share on his behalf. He absolutely loved Stranger Things.
Okay.
Dude binged the entire series.
Yeah, it messed with his Casablanca viewing schedule.
It did, which I'm okay with that because he took his Casablanca time and applied it towards Stranger Things, but he absolutely loved it.
Nice.
We were discussing it the other day, and he just...
So he had not seen season 1?
No.
Oh, so he did season 1 and 2 all the time.
Season 1 and 2.
That's an impressive binge for anyone. That's a lot.
Well, he doesn't sleep, so...
Yeah, I've heard that about him.
Yeah.
It
It's
doesn't
true.
surprise me much, actually.
It's true. He only sleeps when he goes to movies.
Right.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah. Been there several times for that. All right, so I don't think we got anything else new other than the Star Wars stuff and trying to recast everything that Disney's doing with The Rock and Vin Diesel. So we'll go ahead and jump on into our Justice League stuff here. And
It's a League of Justice. It's an original piece by me.
it sounded like that.
It did.
I was going to say impressed.
You just
not
be
the right
lying.
word.
It wouldn't be honest.
Wouldn't quite capture the true essence of what you feel.
I'm not gonna lie to you. We know each other well enough. I won't do that to you. It was you doing something. That's what I'm gonna say.
I chose to do a thing, and
you
that's
chose
what it was.
to do a thing, and we're gonna go with that being a thing. So Justice League came out just a few weeks ago. Came out 17th of November, 2017. Rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours, a brisk 2 hours. Directed by Zack Snyder, who also did Dawn of the Dead 2004, 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, and Beavis Dodge. And then also directed by, though they only gave him a writing credit, Joss Whedon, who also did the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series, Firefly, The Avengers, Much Ado About Nothing, and the upcoming Batgirl movie. Producers for this one were John Berg, who did Elf, Wonder Woman, and every future DCEU movie. Jeff Johns, who did Lethal Weapon Floor. That was the less impressive sequel.
It's when they retire.
That's the one.
I'm getting too old to vacuum this thing. Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh, okay.
Got
that
it.
one.
Can't wait till they have another Thor movie. Then it has to be Thor 4. And let's see people try to say that. Lethal Weapon 4, Green Lantern, and every DCEU movie. Charles Roven did 12 Monkeys, Fallen, Three Kings, and the Nolan Batman movies. And Deborah Snyder produced 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, and most of all of the future DCEU movies. Writers on this one were Chris Terrio, who did Argo, Beavis Dodge, and will do the upcoming Star Wars Episode 9. Joss Whedon did the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Toy Story, Firefly, and Avengers. Zack Snyder, who wrote 300, Sucker Punch, and Wonder Woman. Cinematography was done by Fabian Wagner, who did Sherlock and Game of Thrones. Music by Danny Elfman, who did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Back to School, Beetlejuice, Batman, and the Spider-Man movies. Budget for this one was $300 million, and the last I checked, the box office was $482.9 million. So it's making some change, but not probably enough change.
Not Marvel.
Not Marvel change.
Well, no one's making Marvel money but Marvel these days. Well, maybe Disney and Star Wars.
Basically, what's going to happen is the dollar will disappear to be replaced by Bitcoin and Disney bucks.
There you go. I mean,
Is Bitcoin $10,000 now?
I think it is.
it's ridiculous. There's a bubble there.
So they will basically own the world. Ben Affleck played Batman Bruce Wayne, and some people might argue that he didn't necessarily play them. Rather, he just kind of showed up, and that's what they called him. He was in Argo and Good Will Hunting. Henry Cavill was Superman Clark Kent. Count of Monte Cristo and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Amy Adams was Lois Lane. Arrival and The Muppets. Gal Gadot. Did we say it was Gadot or Gadot?
Gadot.
Gadot.
I
That's what
believe
it was.
is the
Gal
official.
Gadot. Yeah, like a boat. Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman. Diana Prince was in the Fast and the Furious movies. Ezra Miller played the Flash, or Barry Allen, and was in The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fastest Man Alive, longest movie titles to say. Jason Momoa played Aquaman Arthur Curry. He was in Stargate Atlantis and Game of Thrones. Ray Fisher played Cyborg Victor Stone. He was in Beavis Dodge and the upcoming Flashpoint movie. Jeremy Irons.
Dodge?
Yeah.
I mean,
like the credits scene.
really
okay.
quick.
If you zoom in,
Yeah.
he's
I don't
like
remember seeing him.
on a vertical table.
I'm not sure he was even credited.
But I think there's some
No,
of that
no.
movie that I just have blocked out completely.
Possibly.
Like half of it?
Like the whole thing.
Like from the opening credits to the closing credits.
Okay.
Anyway,
Jeremy Irons played Alfred. He was in Lion King and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Diane Lane played Martha Kent. Was in The Outsiders.
how do you know that name?
How do you know that name? Why did you say that name? Which is it. I'm going to jump ahead for just a second. When they pulled Lois out to calm down angry Superman,
Yeah.
I wanted it to be like, but Superman, Lois is here. How do you know that name? I wanted to like a repeat of the...
For a brief moment, I was worried that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That there was going to be some sort of... Well, no, that there were going to be some sort of response like that. Yeah. How do you know her? Mm-hmm. And at which point I'd...
Clark, it's your mom. The secret to every superhero is it's your mom. Barry, what about your mom?
Oh,
sorry.
Too soon.
Too soon? Too soon? He's been around for like 50, 60 years.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he'll get over it quick.
Can't catch a break.
All right, so Diane Lane was Martha Kent, was in The Outsiders and Inside Out. That's a lot of out. Connie Nielsen played Queen Hippolyta. She was in Gladiator and The Devil's Advocate. J.K. Simmons was Commissioner Gordon. He was in Spider-Man movies and Juno. I always forget how to say the guy's first name. Is it Ciara?
Ciara?
It's Welsh, isn't it?
Looks like there's an accent over the...
Yeah, there is. I apologize if he's Welsh or whatever he is to all the people from that country for not knowing how to say that. But we're going to move on.
Do we have a big following in Wales?
We have a couple of people.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit bigger in Ireland.
Yeah.
So if he's Irish, I apologize.
In Russia, if I remember correctly.
He's both a little bit bigger everywhere.
This is how they're hacking.
You know.
Right, is through our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Just checking.
We are providing all the information to the Russian hackers.
Yeah.
He played the voice of Steppenwolf. He was in Rome and Game of Thrones. Amber Heard played Mara. She was in Zombieland and The Danish Girl. Joe Morton was Silas Stone. He was in Terminator 2 and Speed. And Jesse Eisenberg played Lex Luthor. He was in Zombieland and The Social Network. Rotten Tomatoes, critics gave this one a 41%. If you switch it over to the top critics, they gave it a 24%. The audience gave it an 82%. I've got a couple of critics here that I pulled out of the Rotten Tomatoes batch. One was Matthew Lacona, who is from the San Diego Reader, and he said, "There's some welcome levity, some genuine conversation, as when Bats and Diana share a drink, and a few moments that feel like really good comic book panels, especially mid-credits. For some, that may be enough," and he gave it 1 out of 5. Ellen Murray from Film Ireland magazine said, "The characters save the film from being a complete and utter disaster, but they alone can't save it from being a mild disaster." All right.
That's harsh.
It's a little harsh. Cinema Score gave it a B+. There are no awards yet, and I don't know how many will be forthcoming. We'll find out.
Elfman will pull off
Danny
something.
Elfman, maybe something.
It'll
yeah.
win
Yeah.
a Razzie for effects for the mustache thing.
Yeah, that's
Maybe.
true. The mustache thing is gonna have some legs.
Mustache Gate.
That's gonna have legs.
Okay. The forces of Darkseid, led by Steppenwolf, begin invading Earth, going on a magic carpet ride in search of the long-lost mother boxes that, when combined to form the Unity, will help Goat Boy remake Earth into a new apocalypse. Batman realizes that his new league can only do so much. They need a leader. Unfortunately, he's dead. Fortunately, this is a superhero story, and no one ever stays dead.
We have to be ready. You, me, the others. There's an attack coming from far away.
Not coming, Bruce. It's already here. The others. Where are they?
Arthur Curry, the Aquaman. It's on him.
Organic and biomechatronic body parts. He's a cyborg.
You should probably move. Barry Allen.
Whoever you're looking for, it's not me. You're the Batman?
They said the Age of Heroes would never come again.
It has to.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
One thing I can tell you is you got to be free.
My turn.
Come together. Right now. Come together. Right
Shall we?
It's good to see you playing well with others again. Just like a bat. I dig it.
Maybe temporary.
Is that synopsis the 30-something, 30-second synopsis?
It was a quick version of the 30-something, 30-second synopsis.
Or possibly a janopsis,
It was like
if you will.
15 max.
A
I don't even know what
janopsis.
a Johnopsis? Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Not working.
That's
for it.
acceptable.
All right.
That's acceptable.
Unacceptable.
I may have ripped that off from another podcast I listened to, and you might listen to it as well. The West Wing Renopsis? No.
Oh, yeah.
West Wing Weekly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I got the term bumped.
Yeah.
Anytime I say I bumped on something, Joshua Molina, thank you for sharing that term because I've used it and passed it along.
Josh Molina likes us.
Does he?
Yeah, that's why
Remember?
I feel anytime we can
tweeted something. And
anytime we can,
friend of, can we call him
ride
friend of
their
the show?
Yes, we can.
Friend of the show, Joshua.
Friend of the show.
All right. Well, so one thing that we haven't done yet, we've got. So now we were waiting just a minute to see if Pat showed up, but no, apparently he abandoned us, much like all the heroes abandoned Superman to a cold dark grave. But
we're fortunate because we do have a special guest.
We do have a special guest.
Special guest, please introduce yourself.
Who are you, special guest?
Will Warmbold.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so I'm to the. No, I'm just kidding.
So Will is Bo's brother, and Will brings a little bit more of some comic book expertise with him to.
I wouldn't say
a little
expertise.
bit. Okay.
I would say
more sanity.
Compared to me,
mediocre knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of my DC knowledge is actually the animated universe stuff.
Okay.
Very big into that.
All right.
Comics are too obscure.
Okay. All right. And speaking of big in any universe, Jeff. You thought I was going to go with Bo, didn't you?
I did.
You see what I did there?
I do, but I can see why you got confused because his gravitational pull is pulling me towards him.
I was referring to your ego.
I'm caught in his orbit right now.
Okay, all right. So basically, you're his moon.
I am. Get ready, buddy.
Do we turn that into a verb? Are you mooning, Bo? Is that?
We'll see how this podcast goes.
Starting off great so far.
If he buys me dinner, then for sure.
That's all it takes, huh? All right, noted.
Yeah.
No, it's
you can supersize it.
It's a Tuesday. Anyway, Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm tired and punchy.
There you go. Well, that's a good combination for a podcast.
It's great.
And Bo.
I'm excited.
How's it going? It's been a while.
It's been a little
busy,
while. Yeah.
But I'm happy to be back.
All right. So
you and I haven't been on this for a while.
I know schedules have been very strange.
It's kind of been the John and Pat show. So
it kind of has.
Glad you guys were able to.
Nice to know Dennis has been missing too, though. I feel.
Yeah, we didn't have food.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's been missing Dennis.
Well, that is possible. I have, but that's just.
I mean, I miss him
exactly, but
the
listening public.
I haven't tried to hit him, so I don't know how I could miss him. I'll be here all week.
Man,
unfortunately for the world.
My classroom's right across the hall.
No.
Oh
man.
All right. So, well, we are here to talk a little bit about Justice League, and let's just start off with this one. What are kind of your? I've got some questions for us related to some things that I have read from different articles and other podcasts that have already talked a little bit about Justice League online. Mm-hmm. But let me just start off with this. How'd you feel? Justice League is a kind of a little bit of a contentious issue or contentious.
You're guest. So first, please.
So special guest. What do you?
And I liked it. Like I was expecting. Probably helps that I was expecting bad things from previous DC movies and everything that people had said. But like I, walked out, saw with Bo, and I was like, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't really think it was for a comic book movie. I thought it was pretty good. Not as good as Wonder Woman, but better than anything else DC's done.
Okay.
I agree. I went into it wanting just to have fun, and I walked out saying, that was fun. Yeah. That was a good time. And I think that's what I texted you immediately after watching it. Guys, it's fun. Mm-hmm. This is going to be okay. Just go in 2 hours of sit back and watch the team come together. So, yeah, I also enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I think I told Will when we left the movie, I wanted more, though. I felt like it was a quick 2 hours. And
always leave them wanting more.
Well, and DC and there is something because some of the movies can be too long.
And some of the movies can leave you really wanting more.
Right. And I think I wanted a little more Aquaman, information and a little more Cyborg and a little more Flash, just because I don't know them very well at all. And I know Aquaman's got his own movie coming, so I'll get that eventually.
So does Flash.
Nah, maybe. His has become a solid maybe over the last couple months when I've read.
It's now Flashpoint.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a thing
which is great
now.
because Flashpoint is what you use when you want to reset your DC universe.
That's exactly what I was saying to my buddy Tony after we saw it. This is a great opportunity then for them to kind of clean up the mess that came before Justice League.
But you're not far enough in to reset it.
Well, they weren't far enough into the New 52 to really reset that, but they did anyway.
True. That's very true.
So I just wanted more from it. I think another 20 minutes just to give me a little more of the universe. But part of that, I think, is me being not much in tune with it. So we'll see.
Well, and
as they build the world around it, maybe I'll...
They cut about 50 minutes from
yeah,
the movie.
and from what I've read, a lot of that was Aquaman.
And I feel like I could take 25 more of those, 20, not the whole 50 minutes, because 250, that's a long movie.
Yeah.
But give me 25 of them back,
I was
and I'll be okay.
I was shocked. So that was an awful lot of amount of movie to cut.
So how much of that is Joss Whedon coming in and going, no, no, no?
Well, you have to. If you look at Snyder's other movies, they're all long and they're filled with a lot of stuff that probably doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And Whedon, like I said, he cut a lot of that stuff
He's
out.
efficient.
Yeah.
Don't give him that.
And part of that could be, and we'll never really know because it's not like there was a 250 cut, and he cut 50 minutes off of it. Like there's supposedly 40-50 minutes of footage that could have been used that they didn't. But I don't think the movie was ever actually going to be that long. But like I said, I was surprised I heard 2 hours. I expected 2.5, just from this size movie. Marvel introduced everyone, so they're introducing half of the team in this movie, and it's a 2-hour movie. It's like, and
it felt it took long enough to build the team that the end felt a little rushed, and maybe the Superman stuff felt a little rushed from out of the ground to I'm okay.
There's no development with Superman at all. He comes out of the ground, he talks to Lois for a bit, and all of a sudden he's good.
Yeah,
it's possible maybe that they'll deal with that in. Are they planning a second Justice League already? That's what.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in here somewhere.
It's hard to remember the timeline they've got, but
because they keep changing their timeline.
Well, yeah. Exactly.
Well, and because I'm assuming that's the whole purpose. Justice League 2 will have the Injustice League or whatever they're called, the Lex Luthor group.
Legion of Doom.
That one, yeah. And they're like, here's what we're gonna do.
That's what you do with the post-credit, though.
I know. No, it wasn't done poorly. I just. I think they told you who the bad guy in the next movie is going to be. Here you go. I
was ecstatic to see Deathstroke. I thought that was just
I
brilliant.
know. I guess who else you bring in? But I don't know. It's not a huge Deathstroke.
Well, because originally Deathstroke was going to be the villain of the Batman movie.
Yeah.
And so
and
I think
now,
he still can backtracked. Well, he can be.
Well, it also sounds like that movie might not ever happen.
Or it's not like they've ruined it. Using Deathstroke in
exactly
in a singular.
That's part of the problem with
character movie.
I will say with that part, when I saw Deathstroke, I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're going to do a tie-in to the Batman.
That's what I thought too.
And then all of a sudden they show the yacht, and then they show the bald head, and I'm like, great, you ruined it with Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, God.
Okay. Which in the 10 seconds we got of him as Lex Luthor.
Worse 10 seconds?
Well, no, actually, that 10 seconds we got of Lex Luthor in Justice League was better than the entire Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman.
You mean when he was playing the Joker as Lex Luthor? Mm-hmm. Because that's what he was doing in Batman vs. Superman.
It's funny. We were having a conversation the other day about other Batman movies. Mm-hmm. They really should just make a bunch of movies with him and the Joker going at it, because all of the bad guys lean Joker. We were talking about Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
How it leaned so far Joker.
Yeah.
And not so much Two-Face. And I'd forgotten about...
Eisenberg was very Joker-ish.
Yeah.
And there's different ways of doing Lex Luthor. You have the Gene Hackman one from the original movies. My favorite is the DC animated one, because he's just... he's intimidating, but realistic. And he's the perfect... video Lex Luthor. I can't think of a better version done on TV or film than the DC animated. Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to judge because it's a younger version. But yeah, you're right. But you know what? That one
he was great.
Was funny, and that one becomes the one for the animated one. Literally, it's just a younger version of the character.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, that was such a great characterization.
Yeah. I will say for this movie, I went in. Mine was a bit of a roller coaster because I start off with all the DC movies because DC is my thing, and I start off with those movies being like super excited that I get to see Superman and Wonder Woman. Like I get to see all these people together in one, basically live action Super Friends.
Yeah,
I get to see that on the screen, and that will always, no matter how good the Marvel movies are, I'm always going to look forward to seeing that from DC, even if I know. Part of me, even if I know that Batman vs. Superman was not a good movie, I'm still excited for Justice League because these are the characters that I enjoy.
Because that moment when, in Batman vs. Superman, when Wonder Woman shows up and three of them are there, is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
best part of the movie.
That, I mean, by far the best part of a not good movie. And it's great. And you're right, that is, seeing the Trinity on film, finally. It shouldn't have taken this long, but it did. And it was really good.
So for me, I kind of went in... I went in with high expectations, but then I lowered my expectations. And then when I started to see, like when reviewers were reviewing, when they were first allowed to see like the early screenings of it, and they couldn't say anything, but on Twitter they could comment and say whether they liked it or not. Yeah. There were a whole bunch of people, just a ton of people coming out saying, it's fun. It's really fun. And then just a few days later for you to then text me and then say, guys, it's fun. Then I was like, okay, well, a lot of times Jeff and I have similar opinions on these movies, so I know if Jeff liked it. And sometimes I feel like maybe you're a little more critical about some of the movies that
I'm trying to say
in a positive way.
Okay,
like I enjoy your opinions.
I would actually agree with you. Sometimes I get overly critical, but I think I can be very critical.
There's a special guest star.
What's happening, guys?
So anyway, how are you doing, Pat?
I'm doing good, man.
Come on in, grab a chair.
Should I don't want to grab the phone. Should I grab something from?
Go.
All right. Hey guys, I'm sorry for my tardiness.
You're not. You just wanted to make an entrance,
right?
Have you ever met my brother?
I have.
Oh,
so I just washed my hands, so that's why they're wet.
Sure, you did.
Why did he want
to stop the whole damn podcast for your entrance? Well, here you are.
Oddly enough, he says that like multiple times a day. You can go, like, he'll leave his classroom, like nowhere near a bathroom. He's like, sorry, I just washed my hands there. That's why they're wet.
I want to just go on the record as saying that just like the table thumping, I came in quietly, but then it was everybody going blah, 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 that got me fired up. I'm just saying that.
Okay.
All right, I apologize. I will.
So basically, now that Pat has derailed this entire thing,
I'm sorry.
Let's just start over.
Just start over the whole thing. Okay. Anyway, this is the 30-something movie podcast, and speaking of big,
that whole
Bo,
thing
how are you?
Was a Mark Maron
See,
open.
that time
that was good.
Went with because it was the thing in the
good callback.
He just did the ultimate Marina open.
Mooning,
Bo.
I'm not touching that one.
It's the name of our short film that we're creating.
We're gonna compete with the Disaster Artist at the Cannes next year.
No, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I had to explain The Disaster Artist and The Room to my wife because NPR was doing a thing with Seth Rogen. And
I heard that interview.
And so she was listening to it this morning, and she's like, that sounds like a really bad movie. I'm like, it is a really bad movie.
I have it somewhere at home.
Okay, if you think about it, because I need to see that.
Yeah.
If you can get the public radio interview, I heard that coming in this morning, and it was really, hearing those guys talk about making this movie was
Seth Rogen's on Nerdist podcast this week.
Oh, okay.
Listening to that.
Okay.
I'll check that out.
Will, have you seen The Room?
No, when I get
you
the
haven't had the pleasure.
They're making a movie about making a bad movie.
It's not making a bad movie. It's making possibly the worst movie that's ever been made.
Yeah.
I've seen Newport South, guys. That's all I'm going to say.
Could have been in it.
I know.
Could have been in it.
I know.
Could have been a contender.
All right, so that's just like Justice League, right? When it's just a hot mess that comes together.
So our Marin Open continues.
So my overall take on Justice League is I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I went in with fairly tempered expectations, just kind of saying, all right, I'm just looking forward to seeing these characters, having fun in a movie, and that's totally fine. And then I loved it. Like, thought it was great. And anybody who asks me, I'll say it's not going to win any awards. It's not that kind of movie, but it's a fun superhero movie. So that's kind of my take on it. Pat, now that you're here, what did you think? What did you think? How awesome was Justice League?
Dude, it was an awesome movie. I mean, it really, and
we didn't take bets on how many times you were going to say awesome.
Okay,
just so you know.
But I'm gonna come in, and this is I mentioned this to Jeff. We kind of had the pre-podcast discussion.
We did.
Is that I like Bivistage. Okay, I'm gonna say it, and everyone can like pile on me and all that kind of stuff. I enjoyed it. Like I walked in, I was like, man, this is fun, man. Okay, that's cool. Batman's beating the crap out of people. Yeah, this is neat. Yeah, that's cool. You know, and so when I saw this one, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Now I don't want to get into comparing it to, well, it compares to this one this way and it compares to this one this way. Because I remember talking to you, you being John, I remember talking to John about this. I said, you know, what's the difference between Marvel and DC? And you were talking about how Marvel tends to go more for the human element, you know, these big, larger-than-life characters, comic book characters, and they try to humanize them. Whereas DC seems to take these big, larger-than-life characters and try to maybe, how did you say, push them further.
Make them godlike.
Make them godlike, that's right. Emphasize
and then even in the comic books, I think that's, and you guys who read DC can agree or disagree with me, I kind of feel like the DC characters are always more legends. Like these are the heroes of legend, whereas the Marvel characters
Marvel's always been more
these are people who
grounded.
have powers.
Yeah, Marvel's always been more grounded.
Yeah.
I saw, I don't know if you ever listened to the Star Talk podcast, Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, or catch it. He does a video version on National Geographic. I was watching one with Kevin Smith the other day, and he went deep into. Did you see this?
I didn't see it, but I mean, talk about a font of knowledge about comics.
So he went actually
Batman. He's crazy.
Well, and
his podcast, the Fat Man on Batman,
so good,
so great.
He went a little deep into the Marvel DC thing, and he said something interesting, and I'm not necessarily sure I completely agree with it, but he said that the Marvel comics tend to base all of their powers, not all, but most of their powers and their abilities in science somehow. There's a mutation, there's an experiment, there's an implantation.
They have their magic, but not as much. Yeah.
Whereas on the DC side, it leans a little more towards, that's just how it is. Like, Superman's powerful because the sun's yellow, not because of anything that happened to him.
Fantastical.
Yeah, and he went a little deeper into that. And I never thought about it that way, and then I was,
That's not to do with when the DC heroes are just older. I mean,
Well,
most
and
Marvel
that's-
ones are
yeah.
60s or newer, so they,
True. Back in the 30s, they weren't thinking about that. They just wanted a guy who could kick some ass.
And watching this movie, I was thinking about like, okay, well, how does it rate in the pantheon of DC movies? And this is what I was mentioning to Jeff.
Second.
When you go, okay.
Well, we're done. Thanks for listening.
So good night. And I'm gonna say not like, what is it, DCEU or
There,
whatever.
well done.
But I'm gonna say anything that features a DC character, like the Christopher Reeve Superman was,
Which some people pronounce as DCEU.
okay. So the dude with
No, it's not French. It's not French.
I can't remember who's offended by the DCEU or the. Oh, that was you.
No, that was my buddy Tony.
Oh, that was your buddy. Now, who doesn't like the Oscar-nominated Suicide Squad?
That's me.
Oh, okay. So I'll keep
The
that
Oscar-winning.
The Oscar-winning.
The
That's right.
Oscar-winning Suicide Squad.
So, like, the Christopher Reeve Superman
Violent
seemed
by
to have,
throne.
like, universal appeal because they didn't play up that he was an alien. He was just, the good-natured superhero. They even took little plot threads in there where he was trying to be more human. He gave up his powers, and the limit of the weird alien tech was some crystals in an ice cave. The 89 Batman...
45-minute intro with Crystals and Ice Cave.
Right. But I mean, even like that with like Krypton, they didn't go much beyond. It was like his original dad, and something happened on Krypton, and he's trying to live up to that. It was more of like a human threat. The 89 Batman, and Jeff, you brought up the point that casting Batman is, say your point with.
Oh, when you're doing a Batman movie, it's not about casting Batman. It's about casting Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And the more I see these, like even the Chris Nolan Batmans were awesome, but honestly, I still go back to the 89 one. Michael Keaton rocked that part.
That's awesome.
He is, I think, my favorite Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Like, not my favorite Batman. As Batman, he's okay, but as Bruce Wayne, he's great.
And so, but again, Michael Keaton he's Mr. Mom. That's if Mr. Mom was a rich millionaire that fought crime. That's kind of what he brought to that. And then then zooming to the Christopher Nolan.
I just did that mashup in my head.
Okay, did that just blow your mind?
Anyway,
and then the Christopher.
Where are the diapers? Where are they?
Time to burn the whoopee. The Christopher Nolan Batman. I've been told that like with Dark Knight, if you had taken a guy in a cape out of it, it could have been a really awesome crime drama. So here's my point: is that those movies seem to have the mass appeal Whereas now the DC movies seem to up the alien quotient, or there's more focus on the tech that's in the ship, or like put Superman's body in the weird mystic pool that in Vivis Dodge had the weird looking alien come. So they seem to be going more that route. And like Wonder Woman, which I went with my wife, and she's not a huge comic book person. I mean, Doug Woman, that one seemed to not focus on the weird alien kind of craziness. It focused on a World War I story, a woman trying to be powerful in a man's world, good versus evil. I mean, heck, even the bad guy, the weird-looking horned, was it Hades in that one? Or
Ares.
Ares. Yeah. Ares, they were fighting Ares in that one, but he looked like Remus Lupin for the entire movie. We didn't even know who it was. So it was like, oh, it could be a normal guy. You know what I'm saying? So whereas in this one, and in Batman vs. Superman, there was like this weird monster walking around. And in this one, there was... Do you get what I'm saying? So it just seems that... And I enjoy it. I like it, but it... the previous conversations have always been, oh, why can't DC just do what Marvel's doing? But it just seems that DC wants to kind of... And it's good because it keeps the movies separate, but they kind of want to seem to work a little bit more of the comic book angle or the weird sci-fi angle, as opposed to trying to broaden it so that it's just a guy with superpowers as opposed to like an alien from another planet. Do you get where I'm going? So
a lot of that I think is more Zack Snyder's influence than anything.
Okay.
You can, like, before I'd even realized that he was the one behind all the DC stuff, I'm like, man, this is a lot like 300 and Watchmen. Oh, that's good.
That's why.
Like, a lot of people like rag on Watchmen. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think Zack Snyder's best comic book movie by far is still Watchmen.
Which is unfortunate.
So I came in, and I obviously, and I don't want people
Did you?
to repeat.
We didn't notice.
I didn't. That was not my fault. I came in quietly. But did everyone share what their take on the movie was?
We all liked it.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back and listen to the podcast.
And I plan to. So here's my question that I asked from Jeff yesterday. Everyone started throwing heavy things at my head. I can't tell necessarily a big difference.
You can't throw them.
I can't tell a big difference between this one and Batman vs. Superman in terms of quality. And so my question is this movie markedly better? Or is it just like we've just said, you know what, I want to see my favorite comic book characters. I know the angle that DC is going. I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is.
The expectation of the audience is different now than...
Yeah. So I don't want everyone to rehash their thoughts.
The audience is adapted.
No, but that actually was my first question to ask us, other than what's your initial take on the movie, was the IGN Movies podcast said almost exactly what you just said. They said Justice League needed to do two things. First of those is solve some of the issues of the DCEU movies that we've all had problems with, and second, make us want to see more of these characters. So my question, piggybacking on what you said, is did Justice League do those two things? Did it fix the issues that a lot of people are worried about, and did it make us want to see more of these characters?
No, and kind of. Okay. I mean, you're not going to... The issues that came out of Man of Steel and Suicide Squad and Vivis Dodge are not going to be fixed by 1 2-hour movie. It was a step in the right direction. I think Wonder Woman did more to start fixing things, and I think Justice League kind of piggybacked off of that a little bit. It's a step in the right direction. They're starting to make some better choices. I don't think that the issues are all fixed at this point.
So the biggest difference is director. Because all the ones we have a problem with are the Zack Snyder ones. But Patty Jenkins obviously is the Wonder Woman one. So is it Zack Snyder? Is he the problem?
Could
Maybe.
be.
Like, I don't know if you can fix, like, I don't know if you can fix the problems with Batman vs. Superman. You can not make the same mistakes, which I think in that regard, I think they did. I don't think they
didn't make it any worse.
Maybe fix is the wrong word. Maybe it's is Justice League helping it move in the right direction?
In that case, I would say yes, because my biggest problems with Batman vs. Superman are, like, the characters' motivations just don't make any freaking sense. I don't know if anyone's character, maybe Lois, maybe, but no one else's motivations make sense in that movie. And I think in Justice League, I mean, everyone's motivations are pretty clear. I mean, like Bo said earlier, Superman going from confused, killing everyone, to, okay, I'm back now is a little quick, but I think that's more of a runtime issue. We don't have a lot of backstory of Flash.
Aquaman and Cyborg.
And I think Aquaman's the only one who's really missing it. Like, Cyborg, there isn't there. I mean, what's happened just happened. So, short of doing a 25-minute origin, which they're not going to do for Cyborg, because he's by far the lowest tier member of this team.
And they
it's not
gave
going
you
to happen.
and if you remember what you saw in Batman vs Superman,
yeah,
you have enough origin on
enough
Cyborg. Him, I'm not as worried about.
But Flash, they
give you enough information about what happened to him in the movie.
Right? Yeah.
In an accident.
Cyborg doesn't
exactly.
really
I don't
bother
think
me as
his
much as the other two.
Flash and Aquaman, and it does sound like from what I read, they filmed more origin stuff, more backstory, I should say, for them. But I don't think it was necessarily needed. Like, as is, I didn't come out of that saying...
Because the point of Justice League is, how did these people come together?
Yeah.
How does the group form? It's not about the individuals. It's this group coming together.
I think my biggest fear with Justice League is that they were gonna... Because they were jumping right into it, instead of like with Marvel with Avengers, where they introduced everyone separately, so by the time we got to Avengers, they didn't have to introduce everyone. And I was afraid they were going to do that with this movie, and they didn't. And yes... I know for people who aren't as familiar with them, maybe they're a little confused about Aquaman and Flash's backstory. From my perspective, knowing it, I'm perfectly fine with it because it saved a half an hour of movie I didn't need to see again.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when there's a Flash TV show in its 4th or 5th season, and
which is great.
It's good. It's not great.
It's great. All right, who invited the new guy?
Which reminds me, I have a question about that. Not for the podcast when we're done. So don't let me forget.
I personally think that, yes, I think it did, if we're going to say fix or not make the same mistakes. And, yeah, I definitely want to see more. Especially, I think, of the characters they introduced, I want to see more of Flash.
I want to see more Aquaman.
And, I don't know, it's weird. It's the next movie coming out, but I'm not that excited for it because it's Aquaman.
I just, and maybe it's hangover. Hangover's the wrong word. Maybe it's the platform of just coming off of Thor Ragnarok. And in my opinion, Thor...
He just muscular, long-haired gentleman.
Thor and Aquaman occupy in their respective universes. They occupy almost the same task. They are the muscle-bound comic relief, and it's fun. And having those two guys around makes it fun, and I think that's why I want to see more Aquaman, because coming off of Thor, which I thought was hysterical, now you've got this character in DC now who's not the big, serious bat. And I think it's fun. I think it needs it. And I think the movie could be really good. So I want more Aquaman. Flash, I get.
You're getting it. So.
Flash, I get. I wish we could see a little more, but he actually has a line in the movie that I think downplays his character a little too much, but it sums up the way I feel about him. He's like, I've never really done battle.
That was great.
I just push people.
Great.
Okay.
I just push people and run away.
Yeah, like
that was a great line.
You guys are all ready to do battle. I've never done battle.
Yes, that was great. And that right there and the couple things they did really, I think, was enough of intro for people to know who Flash is.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as far as I know, his movie isn't going to be like a prequel origin. It's going to... So they're not going to bother telling that.
I don't know that they need... I mean...
Well, they told it. I mean, this was his first battle. He's he's new, just like Cyborg, just like Aquaman. Like they don't really have.
Aquaman ain't new.
Well,
I gotta say, since we're talking about Flash and the Flashpoint movie that's coming, the one thing I am super excited about seeing in Flashpoint is a new way to kill Bruce Wayne's parents.
Nah,
like I feel like
that's not gonna happen.
we didn't see it in this DC movie. I was sad that it wasn't in Wonder Woman. We didn't see Martha and Thomas Wayne killed in Wonder Woman, which I was disappointed. We didn't see them killed in this movie. I feel like it's not a DC movie if we don't see Thomas and Martha Wayne killed with pearls falling down on the sidewalk.
The trick is they're actually not going to die in Flashpoint. That's going to be.
Well, then it's not a DC movie. It's not right.
So, not to totally sidetrack us, but I do have one observation. It's in the bad guys wearing horned or antlered headdresses lately. Like every other movie.
You put horns on
Make your move, reindeer games.
Right?
I don't know.
You put horns on a guy and he's bad. I mean, I'm replaying Fable 2, and when your guy's evil, the horns show up. I mean, it's a Western culture thing.
Okay.
Horns are, if someone has horns, they're bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just thought it was interesting. Seems to be a common theme. The guy shows up.
They wore very similar horns, I will give you.
In the last two? Yeah. Come on.
At this point, so you said Aquaman, you said Flash. Are there DC characters now that we've been introduced to that you're looking forward to seeing more of?
Like the ones we've already been introduced to, or like future
ones that we've seen so far?
I mean, the only one is Cyborg, and I'm not too interested in a Cyborg movie.
Out of the Justice League, I'd have to say probably Flash.
Okay.
Out of all the characters so far, I want to see more of Deathstroke.
Okay.
And rumor has it there's a Batgirl movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing.
There is. I'm not 100% sure.
And a Nightwing movie.
That in the same
now that I'm
universe.
intrigued.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the Gotham City Sirens one with the
They're actually gonna make that.
Harley
I don't
Quinn.
believe it.
It's still on the list.
They're just going to take Sucker Punch that Zack Snyder did and rework it a little bit.
Okay.
Are they still making Suicide Squad too?
Yeah.
That's the rumor.
Are they really?
I don't see how that
Suicide Squad 2, Suicider.
Right?
All right, so no. Suicide Squad Part 2.
Yeah.
There was an article.
What about you, Pat? What
Two
was your?
Suicide, Two Squad.
Shoot. Okay, so if I'll channel the 14-year-old boy in me and say I'd like to see more Harley Quinn.
Okay.
You know, I really like the Flash.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
Right.
no kidding.
A whole lot more Harley Quinn.
I'm sorry, Wolf of Wall Street. That was her.
I thought you were gonna say you want to see more Wonder Woman.
I thought I was going to say back on a boat.
You know what? The Wonder Woman character, I think, was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think keep going along those lines. I got to be honest with you. I thought Wonder Woman's aunt was really cool, which she's dead now, so we can't bring her back. But I mean,
yes, we can.
Oh, okay.
It's comic book.
Yeah,
You can bring anyone back.
I love you guys with this. Okay, so
if you got super speed, a mother box, and some weird watery stuff, you can bring anybody back.
Right? And the watery stuff still exists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, so then Wonder Woman's aunt. Because like that, I really liked her character, and even the way they said in Wonder Woman, they really made a point to make the women to not look like airbrushed and they had like sunburnt skin, they had scars, they looked like So I thought she was a really cool character. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, Flash was pretty cool, but I mean, I don't want to say I want to see more of him because honestly, keep putting him in these movies, but I like watching the Flash TV series, so I don't know. Is there going to be?
Well, they're going to start stepping on themselves if they're not careful.
That's what I want. So I want to be careful how I make those comments. So
they're making them totally separate.
Yeah.
Like I don't think the people who make movies even watch the show.
No, but I don't know that you want to pollute it too much. Like I think if you made if you did too much of your standalone Flash stuff, then people are going to start.
Well, Flash is never going to be like they're not going to make like 6 Flash movies.
Yeah,
he'll get one.
Yeah. and with Aquaman, I would like to see more Aquaman if there was actually something happening in the water. Like I would like to see more of. I would like to see an Aquaman movie because he's been around since forever, right? Like he's one of these like demigods that's been around. So I would like to see an Aquaman movie like back in the days of like pirates in the 1600s and the 1700s, 18. Like I would just like really outside the box.
You really want to get back on that boat, don't you?
I'm not going there. That I misspoke. And that's not what. But but that's what I would. I guess those are the characters like Harley Quinn.
Senator.
What was that? Okay. I would like to see more Harley Quinn. I would like to see like Aquaman if it was like actually out in the water somewhere. That would be cool. And then like Wonder Woman and just more of her on. So
okay. I would like to see more Superman.
Shocking.
So the guy with the Superman lanyard on.
The lanyard on Aquaman's chest is
the fact that he's wearing glasses and does not need them. Right.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
I don't actually need the glasses. I just wear them. When they announced Batman vs Superman, I remember like a lot of people's reactions were that's so cool, and I remember watching the video from I wanted Man of Steel too, and so I looked at it as like interesting, okay, cool. I would rather have Man of Steel too. Like I would have rather have seen develop more of that character on his own without having to throw in other heroes and have him rely on the other heroes for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing a Superman movie where they have a villain other than Lex Luthor. Like as much as I love the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor, I love that. I want something else. Like I want to see Brainiac. Yeah. I want to see Metallo. I want to see. I want to see something.
You're gonna get Darkseid at some point.
I'm gonna get Darkseid, but I don't know. I mean, but it's still it's going to be a Justice League movie.
Yes.
I want to see Superman have to deal with something on his own with his supporting characters, opposed to and with his rogues gallery of villains and all that.
That was my biggest problem with Batman vs Superman. Is like
as much as I love the characters,
they're not
no more Lex and no more Zod.
You haven't developed
no more Zod anyway.
Yeah, like they hadn't developed Superman enough to do Batman vs Superman.
Right.
And that's why I don't know why they jumped the gun on that. And I really think that's where all their problems.
Because to make Justice League, you had to make Batman vs Superman.
I don't know if you do though.
I don't know.
I think Batman vs Superman works better when they've known each other and have fought each other and been friends, and then they fight.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the story.
I agree with Will.
But I don't know that you can have
you're wrong.
the Justice League.
No, you're wrong. So just sit there. You're wrong.
Without the conflict. Because if you form the Justice League first,
there is no conflict.
If you form the Justice League first and then they go at each other, I don't think you're ever reforming the Justice League. I don't think that works. And I don't know how it went in the comic books. I don't know if they fought each other first or not.
I don't think you need.
I'm not even sure
depends on the day of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if you need the conflict. You don't need that conflict for there to be Justice League.
Yeah, I don't think you do either.
I don't think you have the...
Batman and Superman can butt heads, but I don't think they need to go... The full-on fight doesn't... I think it means more, like... The first time I remember it is in... I mean, it's... Wow, I'm drawing a blank on the name now. The old Batman. Where he and Superman fight, but it's like after Batman's retired and come back.
Oh, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a cool Batman vs Superman fight. Mm-hmm. Like, they literally throw a nuke in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
well,
great.
You kind of have to. I guess I'm... So, okay,
but there's all these things of
they're
they're fighting, and he calls him Bruce and calls him Clark because they've known each other and fought together for years. And it means more than... And so in Batman vs Superman, they had to resort to Martha as the conflict.
But how do you... So then is forming the Justice League a 2-second process? Because...
Let's
get together and kick some ass.
They should have made Man of Steel 2.
Do Man of Steel 2 and have a threat like Brainiac, who is, depending on the comic, an alien
or a robot
from outer space, or a robot or whatever, or a magician from some like traveling circus. Do something like that where it's threatening the Earth in such a way, because Zod was threatening the Earth, but that ended kind of quickly. Have this be something where they're threatening the Earth, and all of a sudden Batman and these other people realize that you have this threat that maybe even Superman can't handle, and then maybe you throw those characters in at the end of the movie, and they show up at the end, and you kind of get a quick little glimpse of them, and maybe you still have Superman die at the end of Man of Steel 2. Maybe if you want to do that storyline, maybe you do that. But I kind of feel like the way.
And now,
everything... I mean, Batman vs. Superman, I feel like, as much as I can watch that movie and enjoy it just as a superhero movie, you could take that movie out completely, and I feel like you could have done something just very quick to explain, the formation of the League without needing a full 2.5-hour movie.
But does Batman need to be the one... I guess that wouldn't matter. I'm just trying to figure out...
That forms the League?
Yeah.
He's usually not.
He's usually not. That's what.
It's usually Superman.
Yeah, it's always Superman.
But why does Okay, maybe that's what I have trouble with. Why does Superman need a league? I get why Batman does, and I get why he, especially the way they played it, would want to do this. But that's why he's got to get him later to make the league work.
Uh-huh.
Like I almost understand. Admittedly, I don't know as much about the Justice League as you two, obviously.
Part of it, part of the old history of Superman and the formation of the Justice League was there were other heroes out there, but they didn't step up until Superman stepped up and said, I'm going to do this thing. Like, I'm going to defend the Earth. I'm the first superhero. And then the rest of them were like, oh, hey, if he's going to stand up to these threats, then, maybe I can too. And then you have all these other people start to create costumes and become heroes.
And they have that. It's in Batman vs Superman briefly because Flash is coming, Wonder Woman's coming out of retirement, Aquaman's there, but it's overshadowed by Batman and Superman fighting because Lex Luthor tricked them. I think if you do Man of Steel 2 instead, then you can play that in a lot more instead of playing up the whole Jesus angle, which is what they've decided.
So there's an article that I want to bring up. From Forbes magazine.
You saw the same one.
It's right there.
7 Ways to Fix DC Films.
It wasn't that one, no.
So this is by Scott Mendelson.
Okay.
Who
actually, I think my article was too. But.
Writes a lot about the film industry. And he brings up 7 7 things that need to be addressed to fix the DC film universe. And while some of them at first you're just like, oh, whatever, he's just, on the bandwagon, he starts explaining some of these points, and they make really good sense. So one of the things that he talks about that you guys are skirting around, which I want to put out there, is in that's why Wonder Woman worked. It works as a film outside of this
standalone.
This universe.
It's their first Avenger. Like it takes place before everything else, so you can have the character and everything.
And another point he goes on to make is just de-emphasize the idea of a cinematic universe, whether it's DC or Marvel or the failed monster movie reboot, the Dark Universe or whatever that was.
Have they canceled that now? Is that officially done? Because last I heard they were still going to try to do it.
I mean, it's 50-50 because Mummy sucked so bad. But to get rid of the idea of trying to make a universe happen, and let's just go back to telling stories about characters, the universe will fall into place. And this is where Marvel films worked, is they did character movies before they tried to make...
They built it up.
They tried to put them all together.
They built the universe.
They gave you characters that you're going to care about.
But Marvel did plan it to build up.
Right.
And
DC tried to capitalize on that.
With character movies like Green Lantern.
I go back to...
Was that supposed to be part... Like, was that... I don't think so.
Well, another point this guy makes in his article is...
I like that movie. I'm sorry.
Keep that Green Lantern movie in the continuity. Just accept that it happened because it's the origin story. No need to do a new movie.
Don't do another origin story.
Just
for sure. No.
Accept that movie as part of the origin story. Recast or...
Did you guys see Green Lantern in Justice League? In the little like Lord of the Rings intro battle? That was great.
Yeah.
Green Lantern was
so
awesome.
just accept that movie as the fact
and
that
then
it
have
happened.
Jon Stewart come in as Green Lantern.
Yeah, they made a movie and it failed. Why risk making another movie that's going to fail? Accept that continuity, accept that explanation of who Green Lantern is, and go forward from there.
Kind of pull a Hulk, right? Well, though there were 2 Hulk movies, I take that back. There was a Marvel Hulk, and then there was the Eric Bana Hulk.
Yeah, the Eric Bana one.
Well, and I feel like, and maybe he mentions this in the article, but I kind of feel like at this point, you needed origin stories when like nerd and geek culture were not what they are today.
You just don't need it for most...
I don't know the origin of Spider-Man. I need to be told the origin. Well, nobody needs to be told the origin of Spider-Man now.
I read a great article the other day that says, if I hear the phrase Uncle Ben one more time, I think I'm going to puke. And it's kind of trying to finish.
What are we having for dinner tonight?
So, but
Uncle Ben.
What you have to keep in mind is a lot that has to do with the rights.
Oh
to
yeah,
characters.
the Spider-Man rights have been a disaster for years.
But same thing with the Batman. By rights, they have to include that origin story. Yeah. They have to include Bruce Wayne walking down the alley with his parents and his parents getting shot. That's why we keep seeing it
5-minute
all
flashback.
the damn time.
That's all you need.
Do it in the opening credits. Like what some of the Spider-Man movies started to do, where you kind of show flashes.
I would assume that's the same way with the Spider-Man characters, that you need to...
You don't,
but at
they
this
changed
point,
it for the
maybe by that point,
I think that was just.
But in this point, if it's a legal thing that you have to include that, I don't think you need the entire movie to be an origin story movie, which is why I don't want them to do, and I don't think they're going to. If they do a Flash movie, it's not an origin. If they do an Aquaman movie, it's not an origin. I think they're just going to say,
well,
look, we've already shown you these characters, we've given you some background knowledge.
But I think
comic book stuff is everywhere now. Just go with it.
I don't think the Aquaman's going to be an origin story, but I don't think he has much of an origin. He was born an Atlantean. That's pretty simple.
No, actually, he was a...
Well...
He's half Atlantean, half human.
Okay, but you can tell that in 5 minutes. But it is going to be a back-in-the-day movie. It's not going to be a post-Justice League movie.
I don't know.
The thing I've read about it makes me think that it's going to be pre-Justice League.
Yeah, it's got to be pre-Justice League.
Nothing. I haven't heard anything that said that.
It's got to be.
But in Justice League, he's... Apparently, Mara, the woman that was there, she's acting like she's seeing him for the first time.
Yeah.
In a while.
And she's...
well, yeah, I got the impression he's been not hanging out there, and that's the story you tell.
Maybe.
I
think she's supposed to be in the Aquaman movie, so if that's the case, it's after...
Why did he leave? That's the interesting story.
I don't think that's what they're telling. I'm not saying it's not this good story. I just, from what I've read, that's not what you're getting.
So what were some of the other...
So some of the other points, assume Wonder Woman was a fluke.
That's my favorite one right there.
Meaning, it worked despite the DC universe as opposed to because.
Yeah, don't be like,
of the
oh look, we
DC
did it right.
universe.
Let's just no.
Keep going.
It's just good.
Talk about
Does
that.
he say anything-
Keep the budgets in check. Don't keep throwing money at the movies in hopes that more money means better movie.
Well,
in
and
that,
that
in
would
the
help
clip
some of
about
the
Wonder
CGI
Woman
stuff in
as a
Justice
fluke,
League.
does he say anything about the second Wonder Woman movie?
No.
Okay, I'm just curious.
That would help the CGI in Justice League. If you do more practical stuff and less CGI, I mean, I think that would have been
Give the guy a razor.
much
You
better.
mean? Did I say that out loud?
Or let him have
That
a
was a whole
mustache.
I
Let
don't
him
know
have-
that the world is ready for a mustachioed Superman. I'm just saying.
There was a bearded Superman in the comics.
I
that
think
was
you,
fine.
I think you
I
go,
understand that,
I think you
but-
go full beard
That's true. I don't think you can go mustache. You
because
gotta
that's
go.
like he just
It would
grew the
depend
mustache
on
in the
whatever
game.
the other studio was going to be happy with.
Well, here's the thing though. Like he could have grown a beard
and shaved the beard.
and
for
shaved
other
the beard and
studio.
kept the mustache.
Like that. could have
Maybe.
worked.
Like
You don't. I mean, we don't know how strict the other studio was.
Yeah.
being
it
about
does
it.
sound like Paramount was really
He was
sticking it.
70s porn stars.
Yeah, it does sound like Paramount was like Warner Brothers offered to pay for whatever Paramount had to do, whether it was CGI or a fake mustache, to like put it back in their movie because it's easier to put a mustache on than to hide one. And Paramount's like, nah.
Well, if I was Paramount, I'd do the same thing.
I can't. Yeah, I
Like,
can't
I'm not going to
disagree.
risk you screwing up my movie.
How much?
You
back
had your
and forth-
chance.
Was it like one day doing one and one day doing the other?
I don't think he
It was the reshoot.
It was just the reshoot.
I don't.
Right, so
As far as I
probably
know,
for a
I
few weeks.
think it was more of the mustache was there. He was leaving to go do Justice League and coming back. So it's not like he was doing it at the same time.
Well, I thought
But he
was
needed
done
the
with
mustache
Justice
for the
League.
reshoots.
Went on to
That's
the
what I'm saying, yeah.
went on to the new movie where he grew the mustache, and then they needed him for the reshoots.
Yeah, but I don't think he was like filming like one day, one the other.
No.
Okay, because I'm just gonna say like, I mean I can't voice for the CGI mustache or not, but like give me a day, I'll get a mustache. I can shave it off then. Give me another day. It'll
Well, that's
be
your
back.
superpower.
Well, I'm just gonna say like Henry Cavill seems to be like like swarthy guy. I mean,
Apparently
But you know what? All of a sudden you find out he's got a baby face and it takes him 2 weeks to get a solid growth going, and that's a
Right.
problem.
That's a problem.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
Mission Impossible better be really good.
How about it?
One of the other big points this guy brings up is diversity. Bring in diversity into your casting. Bring diversity into your production. Stop having it be white people coming in and saving, which, okay, sounds very bandwagonish. But there's a point, it does, why not cast a minority as Nightwing?
Yeah, you could. There's no reason
Yeah,
not to.
there's no reason not to.
And that's why you bring in the Jon Stewart Green Lantern, and then you have
Yeah.
the Black Green Lantern. And
It's a Nightwing movie starring Louis Tan makes it an event for folks who don't get to see people who look like them playing a big deal superhero. I think that's
That could work.
I think that's very true. Somewhere there's a quote in here just about instead of white people going to see richer white people being superheroes, or richer white people saving the day. Start bringing in that diversity into it, and get the authentic experiences from other cultures. Bring that into these movies to just make the movies more appealing to a larger audience. And I would have to agree with that.
The same guy, different article. He was writing about why the headline was Justice League. What was it? One huge upside to its flop, and the idea was trying to focus on how things have totally changed and how your top 2 and potentially your top 3 when Star Wars comes out, grossing movies of 2017 have female leads. And talking about how, it always used to be the thing that, you can't have a female-led comic book superhero movie because they all bomb. Supergirl in the 80s, Elektra, Catwoman, I mean, they have this whole list of, though you just can't have women running superhero movies, otherwise it fails. And he mentions this article. He's like, well, you know what? As of 2017, right now, the top 2 are Beauty and the Beast and Wonder Woman. They've made the most money of any movies this year, and with Star Wars coming out and Rey being the main character, potentially you've got 3 of the highest grossing movies of this year being led by women.
So the takeaway is not you can't have a female lead in a movie. The takeaway is you
I think,
can't have
as
a
long as you
female
have a
lead
good
in
movie.
a bad movie.
Right.
And
As long as
expect
you
it to
have
do
a
well.
good movie,
Bad
I don't
movie
think
still
anybody
does bad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, if you decided to go with the Miles Morales Spider-Man, who is a minority. If you do that instead of Peter Parker, because I remember they were talking about that before. They're like, well, maybe with this Spider-Man movie, maybe they'll do the minority Spider-Man. And then they came out with Peter Parker, and some people were like, well, it's got to be Peter Parker. That's like replacing Clark Kent with somebody else. Like, well, yeah, but Superman is Superman. That's the same character. There's now been a couple of different Spider-Men in the comics. We could pull from those and do a different story. Or you've got, I haven't read it, but I know that Green Lantern currently, one of the Green Lanterns is Muslim. And so there's kind of a whole story of, a Muslim superhero operating in America and some of the issues that go along with that.
Marvel's got that with...
He got him pre-ban. Huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, different podcast, gentlemen. I didn't mean to.
Well played, sir.
The new Miss Marvel in Marvel's comics is the Muslim girl.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I mean, I'd be fine with that.
So the quote here that he uses is and talking about making the whole thing more diverse. Aside from the whole right thing to do thing, such offerings would absolutely qualify as event movies in a way that white guy directed superhero movies about white guy superheroes would not. I have to agree with it.
Well, and at this point, a lot of the money that the movies make is not in America anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got huge audiences in China, you've got huge audiences around the world, and I was reading something not that long ago that most movies now, that's why you'll see in a lot of movies now, they will have a character who is, they'll try to, not, maybe they are ticking boxes, but that they've got, we have the character from this country, we've got the character from this country, and this person needs to be a prominent character because we want the movie to do well in China. And China could provide just as much of a box office as
Chinese
America, if
production
not more.
companies are literally throwing money at Hollywood as long as they film a scene here or
and
put
some
this character
movies
in.
and some movies that don't do well here do well in China, and
Yeah.
it saves. Like I think Pacific Rim. I think
was
Pacific
one of
Rim
them.
did okay here, but once it got to Asia, it was
Age of Ultron was
huge.
like that too.
Yeah.
Like it did really big over in Asia.
So anyway, Scott Mendelson, it's a great article. You should look it up. And he just gets into a couple more details about things, but I think he's onto some ideas in his suggestions to strengthen the DC movie franchise.
So back to Justice League. Do you have a favorite scene in the movie? I know mine right away. Mine is when when Bad Superman has just come back to life. And they're all. I think
this is mine.
And they're all because I think you and I looked at each other. Like,
yeah, this is
awesome.
it. I'm seconding John's.
So they're all fighting, and like Superman's just knocking everybody left and right, and he's knocked out Batman and Aquaman, everybody else, and all of a sudden, Flash is speeding up and
winds up, and he's coming.
All of a sudden,
I love this.
Superman just out of the corner of his eye looks at him, and Flash is like, just his face just goes.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
And I like laughed out loud.
I did. Yes. That was
good.
And the best part is how Superman looks, because Flash is like moving fast, but then Superman just slowly looks over.
Right.
And in my mind, it was like
faster, faster than he should be able to look.
But faster than he should be.
Flash has never encountered.
But he was still looking slowly, so it was almost like he didn't. He knew. It was almost like he knew he was coming, but he was just looking to slower. Like, don't try and sneak up on me. But he was, and so my brain was like, wait, he's moving fast, but then he's slow. But then, oh man, Superman's. That is awesome! And then Flash was like, "Ooh,
how many
I don't. That was. I dug that scene. Awesome.
So that's my absolute favorite. My follow-ups being what they had to do. I don't know what they had to do, but what they did, I think, to make it a little bit more lighthearted. The fix the tone of the movie, I guess, was the part where once they finish separating the mother boxes and Cyborg and Superman just like fall down on the ground and they're just laughing.
Yeah.
They're like, they know they've won. They know and they're just like, oh man, let's like never do that again. And they're having a good time. And then one of the post-credit sequences of Flash and Superman running the race.
Yeah.
That's good.
When that one came up, I'm like,
that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is outstanding.
Yeah. That was awesome.
That reminded me of some of the fun stuff they do in the TV shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, good. Thank you. Bring Justice League 2. I'm ready.
Cool.
So, what about you guys? What was a favorite scene in the movie?
I don't know if I have a scene, but it was a moment. It was the one of the battle sequences, and it's the one where Cyborg is flying and he catches Aquaman and he says, not done yet.
Yeah.
And then he just chucks him back into the battle. That was good. That was just a fun little moment. But it showed the reason they needed the Justice League. Because no one superhero was going to be able to win, but the sum of the parts is what they need. That's
I enjoyed, and I'm pretty sure this was a Joss Whedon edition.
I think most of the scenes we've talked about are all Joss Whedon editions.
When Soups comes back, and he has Batman by the throat, and he says, "Tell me, do you bleed?"
Yeah.
I damn near jumped up out of my seat cheering. That was so great.
That was probably my least favorite part of the entire movie. Because
again, there's the door.
It was a stupid line of Batman vs Superman. It's stupid now.
It was great now. It was so well placed in this movie comparatively to Beavis Dodge.
Oh yeah, it was definitely better in this one. I didn't like it. I thought it was too on the nose, and it's not something. I know Superman wasn't quite Superman at that point, but it was very out of the Superman character, way out.
The other thing
was badass.
The other thing I was hoping to see, and I'm bummed that we didn't get to see it. I wanted a long shot of Superman and Wonder Woman's tug of war. Mm-hmm. They kept on doing close-ups back and forth. I wanted a long shot.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Where you just see both of them on each end of the rope.
See who's actually stronger.
Yeah, I was like, oh, come on, let pan back, and unfortunately they didn't. But that would have been great. Well, what did you enjoy?
My favorite. I don't know if I have a favorite.
Let me tell you what I hated, and then I'm sure you'll be like,
probably,
that was my favorite part.
What was your least favorite scene? I mean, the action scenes are always great, but the scenes between Bruce and Diana when they were not necessarily in as Wonder Woman and Batman, kind of explaining because obviously since this version of Batman we don't have a previous story about, so they're kind of playing off of just. And they don't even bring things up. They're very vague about all of his past, which is strange. I expected more references to, blatant references to people he's fought in the past, and they have nothing.
The Penguin line was funny.
That was good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, some of the Alfred. But I always love the Alfred stuff. In every incarnation of Batman, the Alfred stuff is some of the best material.
I thought the between Bruce and Diana were when they're walking on the water, or when he's all beat up and. The one thing that scene needed, and I need to see the movie again because I don't remember exactly what they say, but there's a part where it's Diana's like, hey, you don't have any powers, what are you doing? And I just, there needed to be a line from Batman, there's this is what I do. This is me. This is what I've been doing for 30 years, however long he's been in it. And instead he made some Ben Affleck type line, and it was fine. It didn't ruin the scene, but it just, they were one line away from making it a really... Some of Batman's best parts that I've seen in comics and previous movies, and especially in the the animated series, are when he drops out of that I'm Batman character and really explains his motivations for it. And they were one line away from getting it, and they just didn't.
The humanization.
Yeah,
of the
they weren't quite there. I'm not sure how much you guys have seen the animated series or.
Animated series is brilliant.
Awesome. Or the.
Did we just agree on something?
I know, right? The Justice League one. Did you ever see, I think it's one of the last episodes of the Justice League animated show, where Batman basically has to go kill a little girl whose her powers have taken over everything? I can't remember the name of the show.
Pat's not going to like that one. He doesn't like it when you mess with kids.
Yeah. But it's so touching because Batman sits down, she has some sort of mental powers, and he sits down on the swing, a swing set, and just has a heart-to-heart with this 5 or 6-year-old girl who has godlike powers, and it's like they said, the humanizing of it, and those are when Batman's at his best. And this movie got really close to it, and just didn't quite get there. I'm not sure if Ben Affleck's capable of it.
Yeah, not our favorite Bruce Wayne.
No,
that's for sure.
But those are my favorite scene was that scene, and it was so close to being perfect.
There was some good stuff.
Dislikes. It was the bleeding line because it was the worst part of the movie.
So what was? Let's do that one then. What was the one scene you would have definitely taken out of the movie? Oh, did you? Well, I kind of stole yours, but do you have another favorite?
No. I hate to say. I have to bow.
Now he has to make a big giant.
So, let's everyone stop the podcast. That's leaving now.
You jerks all did that. I was gonna go quietly into the night.
Then why did you stop us to tell us you were leaving?
Because I love you all. So the only thing I would
don't believe
say
that.
in answer to your question, and I sincerely can't wait to listen to all the conversation, especially from the
Now that you leave, we can talk about you.
Yeah, that's right. But all the comic book experts, because I've really dug all that, because that is something that I don't know. But the one piece that I would have liked to have seen more was more Batman tech, and more so than just.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we saw the movie.
Yeah,
like
it's
the,
like
the Batmobile in particular.
Right, the Batmobile was driven enough to, okay, you get beat up and then you throw it away. He had the plane that got beat up and then you throw it away. You had the,
crawler thing.
Yeah, and it was
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, and it was kind of like in the other Batman movies. I mean, the Batmobile is really cool, and I mean that's awesome.
One of my favorite Batman movie lines. Any character, any movie. Where does he get those toys? Yes,
I know.
Favorite line.
And the Batwing. When the Batwing comes, and I'm preempting the '89 Batwing. When that comes on the screen, that thing is awesome. And when it gets shot down, it's like, oh, dude.
Well, because in that his technology is like a character.
Yeah.
The Batmobile is like its own character when it puts up the shields and it drives
Especially
itself.
in the '89 movie,
Right?
Like the Batmobile was like a thing.
Yeah, and I mean, and even the tumbler.
And you go downhill when you get to the car. Chicks dig the car.
Yeah. But my point is, like, I guess I would have liked to have seen like a cool thing that did more than just you drive around and gets beat up.
Yeah.
I mean, or come up with a unique design. This just seemed to be like, okay, do a riff on the old Batmobile.
Or even if it's not the big things, like he should have had more stuff he pulled out of his belt. Because he's fighting these guys that he is not. And what do they have him do?
Yeah.
The same thing they did in Batman. He picks up a gun and starts shooting people.
Yeah,
Batman doesn't pick up a gun and shoot people.
I'm not the DC guy, but
agreed. Batman does not
so
need a gun.
I can't wait to hear all your other points. So thank you guys for letting me stop by. But that would be.
And if Batman does go to a gun, it should be a big moment because he realizes, oh crap, I have to shoot someone now. I'm gonna shoot this guy and this guy and this guy.
I bumped on that too, but I didn't want to like say. But that would just more bat tech. Have a yeah.
The slow motion Batarang was cool,
That
but
was-
I wanted
that
more.
was
Like, I love that stuff.
Well, and he knew, like we were talking before, like Batman's power is that he is prepared for all this stuff. He knew. I mean, they showed it a bit when he did the thing with figuring out the frequency that messes with the parademons and stuff. Yeah. But he should have had a whole bunch of stuff on his belt that was specifically set up to fight those guys. And that his plan was, I'm gonna punch a few, I'm gonna grab one of their guns, and I'm gonna shoot him.
Yeah, he couldn't have had a speaker on the belt that would emit that sound. I mean, it wouldn't have been loud enough like the car, but he could have had it running so when they got close to him, they'd be like, or something. I don't know, something. I wanted more.
They'd be like, what?
My God,
I can do that all day if you want.
This is an audio podcast.
Something that bugged me, and same thing with Beavis Dodge. The overuse of CGI. Mm-hmm. And the scene that really got me, and I don't even know why this one I bumped on so much, but when they were in Chernobyl or wherever it was.
Yeah, it's shown basically.
Why?
Sokovia.
Why did the sky have to be purple? Like I was like, why couldn't it be a blue sky?
Well, I think while I agree with you in concept,
it has to look broody.
It has to. Well, it has to look unnatural.
They were kind of terraforming it to look like Apocalypse.
Yeah. Right, they're transforming.
Without
the goal is to transform the world into his world, which isn't normal.
That's the reason why. I'm not saying I liked it.
I would agree with that.
But then I would like to see some sort of limitation to it. All of a sudden, the whole sky is purple.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what? Why?
Well,
why was Let's
and that's what I remember.
It.
That's what I remember seeing in the trailer when that trailer came out and it had all the final battle scenes. That was up to that point. I was like, this movie is looking pretty good. This I think this is gonna be a fun movie. And then when I saw that trailer and it was all the CGI fighting with the red sky and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this looks like a video game. I don't want to go watch a 2-hour video game. Maybe I'm just maybe I'm getting old. Like that. I don't want to watch that. I shut up.
I think back to the Avengers.
You're
movie.
just as old as I am.
You're slightly older. And I like to remind you of that.
The battle in the Avengers movie. It was a bright blue sky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's something that I liked about that, as opposed to the fact that like all of a sudden we're going to show that this is a threat to the world because nothing will be recognizable as it should be.
It's harder
he
for you to
didn't
focus
take over the world yet, so why are we showing?
Well, it's harder for you to focus on the action when the setting is bleeding into everything.
Yeah.
Like I want to see them fight. That's one of the things. That's a problem I had with Wonder Woman was the continual use of the slow motion. Was that you slow down every kick and every that to me took away from the action the same way that all of the background stuff going on in this movie took away from the action. I want to see some fighting. I don't want to, because my eyes can't focus on your fight and all the colors here and all the stuff here.
Speaking of getting old, I have that problem a lot when I'm seeing movies like this where there is now officially too much going on the screen for me.
Well, that's what I was going to take our whole family to go see Justice League, and I told Sharon, I said, you and your mom are probably not going to like this. The kids will probably be okay with it because they liked Lego Batman, where everything's all over the place. Yeah. But there's just too much. There's almost too much for me, and if there's too much for me, then I know there's some other people in my family that I'm not going to go take.
Just because there's nothing there doesn't mean you have to put something there.
Right.
It's okay to not have something in every part of the screen.
Right. Which is why I still go back to one of my favorite team battle scenes from a movie is Civil War. You're at an airport. The airport does not.
The epitome of superhero
The airport
battle.
setting does not. I mean, there are times where it aids the story because you're throwing a plane at somebody, but it's not like you're not focusing oh, look, it's a 747.
Because everyone's seen an airport before.
Right.
Yeah, and normal blue sky, you said, but it also you have props to use if you want to.
Right.
So I don't know. Once we got to that scene, and it started, and it had that dome thing. I'm like, okay, where at least it's contained. Then all of a sudden the dome started crumbling, and it's purple skies and giant weird plant things chasing.
Yes, it was like the planty flower things.
So I just had why did we have to go down this idea path?
Yeah. And again, because you remember Man of Steel, the same thing. They're terraforming Earth again, and so he goes when he went to the ocean on the other side of the world to destroy the one thing, and same thing. All of a sudden the sky had turned super dark and everything. They can't have it be a normal looking thing.
But it was in the fight between he and General Zod, that was a normal looking cityscape
because they had already destroyed the thing. Yeah,
right.
But still was really dark. You're right, but it was.
But I think the crazy colors of this one were what were distracting from the action part of it. It was the too much CGI at the end, and the weird how it was all happy flowers that started coming up. I'm like, what are we? I mean, it almost was it almost felt to me like in Batman vs Superman when they start the battle with Doomsday and you hear the guy, the reporter on the TV, he goes, well, thankfully it's nighttime and most of this part of the city has, everybody's gone to work. And I'm like, oh, so we're taking the Man of Steel, letting people die and destroying a city. And we're going to just check that box and say, well, nobody's in the buildings, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then I was almost thinking that everybody's like, oh, the movies are too grim. The DC movies are too grim. And then some Warner Brothers executive was like, let's make happy flowers grow. Happy little flowers, happy little trees. Let's make that grow at the end of the
Ross
movie.
somehow was channeled through some of their executives.
Yeah, well, it was because
happy little cloud.
It was because of the Deadpool trailer in front of Justice League.
I already seen it, but it's still good. It's so awesome.
Just whack that brush, whack it off.
And obviously, it's because after the thing, it was becoming New Genesis instead of Apocalypse.
Right.
And that's obviously what was going on.
Right, but you have to know the comic book
I
history.
did love they stayed away from most of the New God reference, but there were a couple. He says
he
New
calls
God
the
one
Justice
point.
League like the New Gods.
Yeah, and there was another one too. I forget what it was now. I
told
told you afterwards.
But most people are not going to get that.
That's why I loved it, because I got it.
Most people are not going to get that.
It's nice
Most people
to be
are
in
like,
on the joke once in a while.
Yeah. But I think for me it's the same thing. I think just too much CGI. I think that's whereas I'm always going to be a big DC fan. I think that's where Marvel gets a lot of it right. Is that in most of the movies of theirs that have done well, they have not relied on ridiculous amounts of CGI.
I also think
is that because Marvel bases their whole storytelling in reality?
It helps.
Whereas because, like we said earlier, DC leans heavily on the fantasy and the mythology,
but even it's even just how it's used because. There was something about the color palette because
I was just going to say I think some of it is
because Guardians of the Galaxy
and DP color choices.
Because Guardians of the Galaxy is still a lot of CGI.
All CGI.
Yeah, it has to.
But something about the color palette complements everything, and what needs to stay in the background stays in the background.
Yeah.
But in this, it was like somebody gave a 3-year-old a can of paints and just said, "Do something."
Yeah, it was sort of.
And it almost seemed like there was no thought to complementary colors and.
Yeah, I think Marvel does a much better job of that. I was just thinking about it as you were talking. I'm picturing that airport scene, and I'm you've got Iron Man has his color palette, and Captain America, and the colors don't blend together. But the way this movie was shot, that last battle scene, because it's so dark, everything's happening, and no one pops out of the background.
Yeah, Flash is the only one.
Right.
Who really does.
I did appreciate how Superman's blue and red and gold did look more blue and red and gold as opposed to the darker.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as dark.
Although I did miss, because I remember in either one of the previews or something Henry Cavill said, at one point they were talking about he was going to wear the black Superman suit with the silver Superman S from the Death of Superman
toy
thing.
for it,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And,
that would have been cool to see.
But I don't know, narratively it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, unless there's an entire part of the movie that they cut at some point. Narratively, it makes no sense for him to come up in a black
Well,
suit.
let's be fair. Narrative has never been an important issue for DC movies.
But in this, like you saw about what they fixed of this one, I don't think there are really narrative issues with this one. Not like with, obviously, Suicide Squad's a complete mess. We all know why. I mean, it's literally two different movies thrown together.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
much like Thor Ragnarok, but
no,
that's a different podcast.
That was two different tones of movies thrown together. Suicide Squad is literally, these guys didn't edit, these guys didn't edit.
Mm-hmm.
We took the two edits, edited them together, and made a movie. Can't really think in this movie of any like narrative like whole that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the only thing I guess would be the convenience that there's one of the cubes is in with the Amazon and one's with the Lanteans. Like,
but I feel like they did a halfway decent job of explaining that
with the Lord of the Rings intro
to the point where I was sufficiently okay.
Yeah,
with that.
That's the closest one. I think
it worked
it's fine.
for me. Plus, it gives the whole. It's like every story 3 is the magical.
Well, yeah, it's always
anything.
3. Yeah.
And it was it was the water, it was the land, and
I think you're reading too much into it. I think it was more the different races.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think that they explained okay.
That was the closest to a narrative like, okay.
I really enjoyed the scene where the Green Lantern got killed and his ring started to fly off, and Gollum jumped up and grabbed it. He was like, precious.
That would have been. It might be in the background. Who knows?
That's true. that had a lot going on too. Speaking of dark battle scenes.
But see, I don't like that one.
Because it was there and it was gone.
Yeah.
The one at the end kind of kept going.
On that one, none of the characters are people you're supposed to know.
Right.
So they're supposed to blend in. It was kind of like you saw that they showed obviously a bunch of Amazons and the taller gods and normal men.
Wasn't Hercules on there quick?
Yeah, it looked like Hercules. Yeah.
I thought it was Hercules.
Yeah. That was cool. Like, that battle, I was perfectly fine with. The other one, I don't have as big of a problem as you guys do with it, but that's because I do.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the end battle. I have a problem with the look.
The visuals.
Yeah, and see, I don't remember having a problem. Like, you guys are talking about that, I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember having a problem with seeing anything, but it's young eyes,
You're not that much younger than me.
I think I saw everything that needed to be seen.
Now,
I just didn't understand.
I'm going to see it again, and now I'm like, oh, God, they're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you can't unsee now. Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that I didn't see something. I was just wondering why I was being forced to see more than I had to.
Yeah.
Inundated, yeah. All right, so, and is there anything else we want to say about Justice League? My last question for us is, what DCEU movie are you going to be looking forward to most coming up, or is there a character that they haven't announced a movie for yet that you would like to see? But before we do that, is there anything else we want to say about Justice League? Would you recommend someone go see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
it was fun.
That was easy.
It left me wanting more, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
It was fun.
It's another step in the right direction.
It didn't leave a bad taste or anything. I didn't. I didn't. Like I said, there's nothing about that movie that I'm like, oh, that was just bad.
Mm-hmm. Nothing offensive
other than the bloodline.
I mean, I think because of the other DC movies, it's anytime there's a new DC movie out, it's open season.
Yeah.
I mean, I read one review, and
that's why I like the
clearly the person that wrote the review already knew what they weren't going to like about it in terms of tropes. Yeah. They just needed the specific details from this movie to plug in.
They already had it written, and they just kind of
I mean, it very much read like you would look at a blank Mad Libs page.
Yeah.
Like, here's the missing thing. I don't like this part, and I'm going to say.
I wrote my review, and then I went and saw the movie and filled in the details.
Right.
Like, they took huge issue with the fact that one of the mother boxes ended up on a car left out in the open. This was a huge sticking point for this reviewer. I'm like, Why is clearly you were just up? You were going to pan something that had to do with some sort of trope in superhero movies.
And I know there's either talking about, and I was like, hey, is anyone gonna grab that? But it didn't hurt the movie.
They're a little busy.
I think a lot of people are so used to movies wrapping things up that a lot of people would have hoped for the scene where they redistributed the mother boxes. I don't think you needed it, but I think that's what a lot of people might have
wanted.
wanted.
He's talking
where are you
about
gonna put
is when after they brought Superman back, he gets knocked into a car, and then Steppenwolf just picks it up. And,
I see what you mean. I thought you meant
because no one,
Right.
because everyone forgot about it. Which, I thought the same thing.
They were a little busy,
but it didn't ruin the movie for me.
I mean, I'm gonna have to see if I can find this review and share it with
that
you
happens
guys.
in almost every movie and TV
It was
show.
such. Well, and that's the thing. Like, you expect that sort of thing to happen. So this reviewer expected that sort of thing to happen, not knowing what the actual MacGuffin was going to be.
Yeah.
And then once they saw the movie and had the detail they needed, they just dropped Mother Box into that open space in their paragraph, so they can continue to bash and destroy and tear down the DC movie. Let's give credit where credit is due.
All the reviews going into it were like really critical, and I don't get it. Like the one out of 5. Like, no, this is a solid 3 out of 5.
So I know we're kind of running short on our time. I'm actually going to replace my question about what are you looking forward to with a different question because we totally forgot to get to all this, and I have something I want to say about it. Danny Elfman. Totally forgot to talk about the music.
Great.
Yeah. So the music is awesome. I will say my one criticism of the music is I know that he was going back and you were doing the Batman 89 theme, you were doing the John Williams Superman theme. The one thing I missed is I really like the Hans Zimmer Man of Steel music. I really, really like it. And so I don't feel like I really heard any of that. And I listened to the soundtrack a few times before going to see the movie, and I kept thinking, all right, I know that one thing, to use your phrase, one thing people are bumping on is they want that old Superman back. They want that old feeling about Superman. They want that old feeling about Batman. So let's go back. I mean, for Danny Elfman, he's reusing his own theme. So let's go back and let's put that in there. Let's put the John Williams because that's creative. I know. So
where's Pat?
We put the we put the Batman theme in there. We put a little bit of the John Williams Superman in there. But I'm looking at it going, okay, but these characters, especially Superman, have been established with this Man of Steel Hans Zimmer theme, and now I miss it. Like I know Superman has died and come back, and maybe he's a different Superman now, but not really. And I missed that theme. So that for me, that was the only thing music-wise that I didn't necessarily care for. Otherwise, I thought it was fine.
I loved the Return of the '89 Batman, but that's a
great theme.
You hear that
and then it wasn't
theme,
overused.
You just go, all right.
Yeah. I didn't feel like it was overused.
No, not at all. It was very. In most cases, it was very subtle. That after a while, you're like, "Oh wait, I just heard that thing."
I almost think the music was almost too subtle. Like, and this has been the case with a lot of superhero movies. Like, I don't think a lot of them necessarily have a theme that sticks out. That I'm like after the movie, like, oh, I remember, I want to go get that soundtrack, or I want to hear that song again. The Wonder Woman theme from Batman vs Superman is the one exception. Like, that was cool. I mean, it sticks out, and you can still recall it right now. And yeah, I heard the little bits of the other ones, but like, was there even is there a Justice League theme? And if it's there, I don't know what it is. And Marvel has the same
for justice.
Marvel has the same problem. Like there is an Avengers theme, and it's kind of recognizable. But the rest of the Marvel movies, like there isn't really the music is just kind of there to fill it. That's not necessarily bad, but yeah, I miss the days of the Batman theme, the Superman theme. It's like those were super iconic. I remember when. Was Superman Returns? That was the Brandon Ross one?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I didn't hate the movie. I liked that they made it technically actually a continuation of the Christopher Reeves one. Kind of.
I was okay with that except for Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He was just stealing Gene Hackman's lines.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
And stealing Gene Hackman's storyline of I'm going to try to create a new plot of land.
Australia.
But I remember sitting to watch that movie, and they brought back the 70s Superman theme, and it was great. It was awesome. And then they reused it, and the newer Superman movies just don't. And even with the guy like Danny Elfman, who's an iconic guy, as far as I can, I've only seen it once. I haven't listened to music, but there wasn't anything in those 2 hours that stuck out as there's our Justice League theme. That's the new theme. It was all you said, going back and using the old ones. But
I wonder if some of that is Because that's the whole thing, is they brought Elfman in late because he came in after Joss Whedon took over.
Yes. Which is interesting.
Very.
Yeah, because Zack Snyder has his guy.
His DJ, what's it, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Junkie XL.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, so very fast last question. Top 3 DCEU movies.
Top 3?
Yeah.
We're talking like that are out?
The ones that are out.
Out of the 4 that are out?
It's like 5 or 6. But you don't count Suicide Squad.
So Justice League is the 5th movie that's out.
Yes.
So it would have to be...
I thought it was 6th.
So there's Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Man of Steel, Wonder Woman.
Beavis Dodge.
Suicide Squad.
Justice League.
I guess it is only 5. I
Yeah.
thought there was a 6th one.
So
Okay.
Wonder Woman would be top of the list.
Yes.
Justice League after that. Probably Man of Steel after that.
Okay.
Yeah,
me.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I still admittedly have not seen Suicide Squad.
It's okay.
You're not missing
It's the
anything.
worst of them.
Well, I want to for a
There's
few
some
reasons.
good
but-
scenes in it.
I'd rather you
There's
watch
some-
The Room.
There's some entertaining, like, oh, that's funny, that's cute,
Yeah.
but the whole
Yeah, I don't
movie
know
is
Right,
what's
that's
worse.
why I want to see it.
It's such a mess.
Oh, I know. But that's okay. I've watched a lot of messes in my life. It's a great movie to
But
watch.
enough about your sibling relationship, huh?
It's a great movie to watch when the wife's out of town and there's nothing else on.
I want to see Donna watch Suicide Squad.
No.
Actually, I'm gonna be the backwards guy here, and I'm gonna say Man of Steel.
Steel's
Of course
number
you
one, Man of
You're
Steel.
wrong, it's okay.
And no, I'm not.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure in terms of fun. I would put Justice League before Wonder Woman.
Yes.
In terms
Oh,
of
sure.
quality of
Well,
movie,
but so
I
now-
would put Wonder Woman as second.
So now you make all of us look stupid because
Yeah.
you went and you changed the criteria
Yeah.
for
In
the
terms
list.
of
well, it's
fun.
my show.
I was going to say, he sort of can do whatever he wants.
You can do.
This is the guy who, when we make him pick 3, picks 5.
I do.
mean, come on.
Oh, that was me.
You two, I
That
know,
was
but
also
I was...
him.
Out of that movie music
the
list,
movie
I'm the one that
music
kept
Well, yeah,
adding
because
Rose.
Yeah.
you had them. You should see this. Oh my god!
Yeah, when it comes to fun, this is Justice League is probably the most fun.
I would agree with that. They had a lot of fun. They had fun with this one, and they brought the fun.
Wonder Woman is a
Definitely Wonder Woman, better movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
But for me, I really like. I will be a Man of Steel apologist. That
It's
is
like-
my favorite, and
If I go back and watch it, I'll probably like it more than I remember it now. It's definitely better than Batman vs Superman.
Well, so
I like the callback to the whales.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end, when Aquaman's going back in the water, you
Oh,
see
yeah.
the two whales, which were the whales from Man of Steel.
Yeah.
if you look in the credits, they're the same whales.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Did
I
you hear-
appreciated that.
Did you hear Jason Momoa said that he's actually already met Superman? Like, his Aquaman's already met Superman. He was the one who rescued him when he fell into the oil.
Yeah.
Well, that was
yeah,
like not the
yeah,
rumor
that,
going
that
on,
was
yeah.
him. He sent the whales to
Yeah, he's already saved him, so that's good. My biggest problem with
Cyborg's line of
and why-
Booyah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
gotta have that urban element in there. I don't know.
Everyone's
I just,
opinions on this podcast are their own.
You can reach each person individually
like
at
we talked
847.
about. We talked about origin movies. Like, they didn't need to retell Superman's origin with Man of Steel, and that's what made Man of Steel not as good as it could have been. Like, you didn't need to do it again. It's the second most well-known origin story
Yes.
behind Batman. You did not need to tell it again.
and honestly, I would
And
put
maybe
those two
even
against
better.
each other.
Yeah, it's tough. It's one
As
and
far
one
as
A.
origin stories, it's 1 and 1A. Yes. Okay, that's an interesting question. In
And that's why
the
it's not-
in the
that's why
world,
it's not-
which
that's why
origin
Wonder
story is known more of those two? Because I'd say they're both pretty high up
Worldwide, probably Superman.
Spider-Man.
Batman.
there. Good point.
Spider-Man's number 3. I mean,
Fair point. 1B.
Yeah.
The three of them. I mean,
no, Spider-Man's definitely below the other two.
okay.
Yeah.
But see, I go back to Man of Steel, and I like what they did differently. Because I remember watching that movie and thinking, wow, they are...
Oh, thank God they didn't
They're
tell it.
taking... Well, but they're
Yes, they
taking...
did change it.
They're taking the youth of Clark Kent, and they're kind of making him... They're almost making him like a special needs child.
No.
Like, he has to deal with these powers. And, no, I'm serious.
Yeah,
Like, he has to deal with these powers, and the other kids are looking at him weird.
Yeah.
And he has these, different... Like, when he looks at his teacher, he can see through her. So I'm like, okay, what this kid is going through, you almost are like, put him in the shoes of a kid who is not the same as everyone else for some reason or another. And I really liked how they did that.
That was fine. The Krypton did not need to be in the movie.
No, but I like what they did with it. Like,
If
I
they
thought it was a
didn't put
different
Krypton in
take
the movie,
of...
you wouldn't have had the penis shuttles that took Zod and his crew. No?
He's right. You're right. You're right.
Sold.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not see that anytime you watch the movie.
You also can't unsee it once you've seen it.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be there every time you watch.
We can all agree that Suicide Squad is the worst of the DC movies. Though,
Which
right?
one?
Suicide Squad?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow, worse than Batman versus Superman?
Oh, not even, like it's like a different level of bad.
Wow, I'm gonna
like any movie they make between now will be better than Suicide Squad.
When I went to the library and checked out...
Squad 2?
Probably.
When I went to the library and checked out Suicide Squad, I turned it around to look on the back cover, and the back cover actually looked at me and said, "Do you bleed?" And then I tried to watch the movie, and I made it all the way through, but I think I bled.
From your eyes?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, there too.
Noted. And it won an Oscar.
It did. How do you feel about that, Jeff? Oh man, we got all the way through the podcast, and now I got to edit that one.
Sorry, everyone.
That's impressive. I didn't swear the whole time. You sure?
You might have.
Bad.
So that's going to do it for Justice League. So if you completely agree or disagree with us, please let us know. We'd like to hear from you.
How would they do that, John?
They can do that by, all of these are going to be 30 podcasts. So our email is 30podcast@gmail.com. It's at 30podcast on Twitter. We're facebook.com/30podcast. We are on Stitcher, Satchel, Google Play Podcasts, iTunes, and you can listen directly from the website as well. We do also have a voicemail line, and I could give you Pat's cell phone number because that would be funny for everybody to call in just directly to his phone, but let's not do that. It's 872-356-6843 if you want to call the voicemail line and let us know what you're thinking. So coming up in the month of December, our next few episodes here are going to be Fatal Attraction, Ernest Goes to Camp, Throw Mama from the Train, and then we're going to try to get in an episode on The Disaster Artist and Star Wars The Last Jedi. So,
Casablanca.
And Casablanca.
We can do Casablanca next year. As long as we get to it at some point. I think it's
I'm going to do it sometime in the next couple weeks.
Well, Casablanca hit its 75th anniversary.
Yeah. And I just finished watching it today.
Oh, it's so great.
It's on my DVR. It is ready to go. I just got to tuck in and do it.
It's been, in my opinion, this is going to piss Will off, I'm sure. The best movie.
Ever?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. It's been years since I've seen it, so I'm not going to comment, but I remember liking it. But it's been years. Great. I mean, years and years. Like, I don't think I've seen it. I know I haven't watched it since I met my wife, and that's like 13 years now. So
just went and saw it in the theater.
Did you?
Myself and my wife, and Tony and his wife, and a whole bunch of really old people.
Well, I would if we knew exactly what week we were doing, I would tell you that, but we don't plan that far ahead.
Nah, it's not fun.
Well played.
There you go. It's a line from the movie.
I know.
Do you?
Do you really?
I don't think you do.
It's fine.
Okay. Throw him.
From the train.
Oh, yeah.
You see how I did that?
Yeah. All right. Well, so if you just can't wait to hear us talk about Fatal Attraction, Ernest Goes to Camp, and Throw Mama from the Train, come on back here.
Great.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I haven't seen.
I'm having John Ezra do the 30-second summary for that one.
Yes.
He's never seen the movie.
It's raining.
He's never seen the movie, but I gave him like the Wikipedia page of the plot of the movie, and I'm like, condense this down into what I can read in 30 seconds. He's like, okay. So he's been working.
Has he seen any Ernest movies?
No.
Okay.
He's the late Jim Varney.
He's seen a little bit of the one that I watched a couple years ago, the Dr. Otto and the Mystery of the Gloom Beam, or whatever that one was. It's the first, the very first Ernest movie. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for Justice League this time. So we will see you all back here next time. And in the meantime, be excellent to each other and go watch some good movies.
Bye.